Yes, there we go. Perfect.
Great.
Awesome. Well,
Okay,
thanks.
and you'll have 10 minutes.
Perfect. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I guess first things first, what gave you the idea for Untitled Horror Movie?
I was shopping in Los Angeles and I saw a woman trying to buy bread or deciding on buying bread with a pendulum. And I thought that would make a really funny horror film, a possessed pendulum. So I called Nick Simon, who I'd worked with a couple of times on the Girl in the Photographs and Truth or Dare. And I said, I have this idea for a horror movie. And he was like, cool, but let's shoot it right now. Let's just try and shoot it right now while everyone's got time on their hands. And so the best way I could figure out to shoot that movie right then was Untold Horror Movie. It was a movie about making a movie. Um, yeah.
Nice. And so, did you guys write the script together, or did he come on board after, or what was that collaborative process like?
Yeah, so it was collaboration from the very beginning. I, had the original idea about a pendulum, and he said, "Well, what about this?" And then I said, "What about that?" And then, we wrote the first draft of the script in 5 days, I think it was. I wrote kind of like the first chunk of it, sent it to him, and he was like, totally see where you're going. Let me make this a movie. And we kind of just went back and forth from there. It was really honestly such a wonderful experience because Nick obviously brings so much experience as a writer, director, producer, but he's also, worked with like the best people in the business, like Wes Craven. And so he has such incredible knowledge on how to build a moment, how to pace a scene, how to, create, the jump out of your seat moment, or how to create the tension, whatever else. So he took a lot of the silly jokes and stuff that I made and made it work in a world that is, a cinematic 87-minute movie.
Nice. And did you guys do any sort of like research or watch any specific films as like reference points for both the sort of Hollywood satiric elements and also the horror?
Yeah, I definitely rewatched a couple of classics like Bullet and George, and those kind of films that really poke fun at it. But we were really writing from our own personal taste in films. I grew up watching I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, Teaching Mrs. Tingle, Scream, those kind of funny horror films that I don't even think they were ever, branded as being funny, but they are funny. And Nick also, comes from that world. And so I think that naturally we had certain moments that we knew would play really well in a horror film, but we also had moments that make sense in comedy. And then there's just the final element of, having been on sets for the better part of 10 years and coming across a bunch of different characters and thinking like, I'm going to put that in a movie one day. I did.
Nice. And did you write the characters with anyone specific in mind? Did you go in thinking you wanted to work with people from Shadowhunters or
Yeah, I mean, I knew that I would 100% have Claire in it and Kat, and so we wrote the characters around them and around, making jokes about Claire's career in because it makes sense for her character. She makes a joke about being in the highest grossing horror film of 2017, and which is obviously something that Claire has never made reference to in real life. But I thought that it would be, really fun for fans of hers who have, followed her on Instagram or followed her for years, and that's a personal joke for them that is really an Easter egg, and no one else picks up on unless
nice. And so what was it like filming a movie during the pandemic and specifically like found footage via Zoom?
a lot of work. I should have just done a play reading like everybody else. Um, we it was definitely a big undertaking, making sure that everybody was safe, making sure that everybody had access to the right equipment, making sure that it looked good and it didn't look like something that we shot at home. Was a really big concern, and so going into it, there were a lot of trials, there were a lot of tests with our DP, with the other actors, tech runs. But I was honestly so blown away and so surprised by all the actors' ability to do amazing things. And I think that they've all said that they feel like better actors for it now because they know so much more about movie making than they ever did before.
Were there any moments that had to be like shifted or adjusted or totally rewritten once you started doing it in Zoom and were like, oh, this either works amazing or and let's push it further, or like, oh crap, this doesn't work at all?
Yeah, 2 days before we start mining Pat's stuff, um, we had basically SAG tell us we couldn't have two people in the same room. So originally, I was actually going to be in that room with her, and then we rewrote it so that I'm out on the other side of the glass. So that was definitely a point in production process where we were faced with a problem and we were like, how are we possibly going to do this? These two characters need to be in the same room, but SAG, for understandable reasons, didn't want us to do that. And so we rewrote it, and I actually think Nick always talks about creativity coming out of limitations sometimes, and how some of the best creativity comes out of limitations. And I think that that moment is so much more tense because we're not in the same room. So it's I think we definitely kind of tried to roll with the punches.
Nice. And so, what ended up being your favorite scene to shoot?
What was my favorite scene to shoot? I think my favorite scene to shoot was probably the one where my camera comes alive and it starts filming me in my house because I got to trash my whole apartment. Even though I obviously could probably do that any day I wanted to, but it felt fun to go up and pull my curtains off and throw my couch over. I think that was a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, you got to be your own art director and dresser. How did you guys work the kills out? How was the what was the process for that choice? I thought that was really interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, so I actually worked with Shara Kim, who is one of the stunt uh, people on Shadowhunters. Her and I obviously worked together. She actually did a lot of doubling for Emerald back in the day in the show, and so I knew that she knows Kat and I really, really well, and with any kind of stunt, it's really good to have her and be able to talk to people. And so I called her up and I said, listen, can I send you a script? She was in Canada, and I said, what do you think that you can do 100% safe and an actor can do by themselves, and they don't need supervision, and don't need crash pads. And she worked out the stunts and pre-filmed them on her phone with her friend and broke it down to show us how we can do the fall, how we can make it look real, and was there on Zoom as well, advising.
Oh wow, awesome. I think this is so interesting because it's with like searching and host and now Untitled Horror Movie. There's like this new subgenre of like of the found footage horror film that you guys are sort of like creating, and I think that's like I don't know. I was wondering if you were what your thoughts were on this sort of like new branch that or path you guys are paving.
I think it's really interesting. I know, at least from my interactions with, a ton of people who are fans of Shadowhunters, for instance, online, that the majority of the time they're consuming media through their phone. And if it's not through their phone, it's through a laptop. That is the world that we live in. We're living in a world where screen-based media is constantly around us. We're constantly, being exposed to it. So I think that for me, I remember watching my first screen-based film and thinking, this isn't going to work. I don't want to watch. I've been staring at a laptop all day for 12 hours. Why do I want to watch a movie that's the same sort of thing? And I remember completely forgetting about it after 10 minutes. So I think that it's obviously a new way of doing things, but it is the world that we live in, and I think that there are probably going to be more and more films like it as we, as a society, become even more and more and more dependent on technology.
Nice. My final question, I was really curious about because I saw there was a special note about the fan direction, the distribution. I thought that was a really interesting choice I was curious if you would talk about the choice to like have it just sent straight to fans or people that want to watch it without going through the sort of normal process.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed on Shadowhunters was that it has such an incredibly enormous international fan base. And a lot of the time, Hollywood thinks very, very close to home when they think about how to deliver a movie and how to market a movie. And I just really wanted, Nick and I wrote this movie for the fans. We've made the jokes for the fans. The comedy is around the shows that most of the actors were on, and it's around jokes to do with the personal actors. So we were like, why are we trying to, put a square peg in a round hole? Why don't we just give this to the fans and create an experience out of it, create an event out of it? And so I think that that is what a lot of people are looking for nowadays. They're looking for more community and they're looking to feel a part of something. And so I thought that it would be a nice opportunity to really, give them something directly, but also have a conversation. There's the ability in the live stream premiere, you can watch with friends, you can video chat with friends while you're watching the movie, you can chat in the live chat, you can use a photo booth, buy merch. There's a ton of different things that you can do, and I think it all adds to the theme of the movie, which is it should be fun. It's all about having some fun and not taking ourselves too seriously.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That was it for me. I'll hit